everyone. Welcome to Jones Daily Podcast. My name is Beth. I'm the office manager here at Jones Insurance Agency. With me today is Thomas. He is my trusty sidekick in running this place. He's also our life specialist or life insurance agent. And we have him here to kind of talk over some life insurance today and what that means, what that entails, all the different policies they have, because it's complex.
Yeah. I mean, getting into it, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Thomas, like she mentioned. I've been working here for roughly 4 months.
Something like that.
Somewhere between 4 months. Had my license for probably 6 months now, roughly. That being said, I started off with a life license, and being in insurance, this is like, you can do anything you want here. Just got to be willing to put in the time to study. That being said, I don't have that much experience, but I'm willing to soak up as much game as, those ahead of me have. And Beth has been a great help thus far. So, kind of just want to get into what life insurance is today and how it can benefit you as a business owner and, everyday family guy, woman, whatever you want to call it. But
so what I'm looking at here is what a lot of people probably don't know is life insurance isn't one generic thing. Yeah. So there's like 3 different types of policies, essentially. Right. Do you think you can kind of explain those a little bit more?
Breaking it down, it's like some of the, more generic terms, and it's called a term life, which most people kind of gear towards because it's a little bit cheaper and more affordable for the everyday common folk, those who can, put so much aside for something that they may not ever benefit from, right? It may expire if you get a whole life, or, the universal life, which is something I'll touch on a little bit later also. That can be a little bit more costly because you're getting a lot of cash value. What most people don't understand is term life builds a cash value as well, and you can get a return on your premium if you build it correctly. So those policies are very vital, but term life offers 10, 20, 30 years of coverage. And say anything, unforeseen happens throughout that time, your family will receive a large face amount from X amount of dollars to, who knows, you can talk about millions for $50 a month, right?
Yeah.
That being said,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like term life. It's quite a bit of coverage for very little that you have to pay monthly. Yeah.
And like you have some friends here that, in the strip mall here who have, term life and have a return on premium. Those things are beneficial for people who have families and, bills that may come up later on. You're going to put a kid through college. A return on premium can help you with some bills and some debt that you may accrue throughout that time. So I think that's very important. And it does expire, so that's one thing that people shy away from. They want something that lasts forever, right? Especially when you have a family that you have to look after. And that gets me to whole life. Whole life is one of those lifetime coverages. It's in the title, right? Your whole life, you're covered, but it's at a fixed amount. That being said, it's a lot more expensive because you are building cash value. You can get a return on premium, but that costs even more. And then there's also, term as well you can borrow from. I don't know if I mentioned that.
No.
So you can borrow from that face value.
Cool.
So that large amount that you will receive, God forbid, once you pass, that will be able to be borrowed against. If you have something very, emergency or something like pay for your kids to go to school, a wedding, you can borrow against it. Right?
Okay, that's cool.
Typically a lower interest rate.
Okay.
But life is one of those, fixed policies, fixed premium. It allows you to build that cash value. It's one of those highly sought after policies.
Okay. Cool.
And then I guess we'll get to, universal life, which is an index policy. What the index is predicated on stock market and the index that is in the stock market. So it follows, it tracks, it allows you to build a floor. So say this is your base here, you don't want to go below that because you'll lose most times in the stock market, right? This is the bottom line.
Right.
People want their bottom line to end, and this allows you to, right? You don't lose anything, right? So you hit 0, you never go below, you never hit negative. But, the upside is you also can cap off at about 10% on average, right? So you can get the most out of your policy in the market, right? Without having to deal with the risk.
Nice. Something
that most people kind of, worry about when they're investing.
Right, yes.
So that's one big thing, that's one big factor, as well as cash value. That builds up over time. You can borrow against that, or you can take it out directly at a low interest rate. You can beat the IRS when it talks about, you know, your retirement, right? Most IRAs, you gotta pay a tax, or, you know, you can't access it anytime earlier than X amount of ages or half before you can even touch your like 72 and a half, something like some high number that most people don't even think about, right?
Yeah, and I think it depends too, because I think when I left one of my previous jobs, I was like, let me go ahead and just take it out. And they were like, well, there's a penalty fee. And I think it was because I wasn't 65 yet.
Yeah, 65 and a half, roughly, because that's around retirement. So think about that. That's like what? I don't even know. That's, for some people, that's 40, 30 years before you can even touch that without being penalized. This is something that won't be penalized if you pull from it early, and it allows you to take that money out if you got family that you got to take care of.
Which is nice, because I think when I pulled mine out, I was like, I'm not waiting, I'm gonna pull it out.
Right,
it was like, plus I had to pay taxes on it.
See?
Yeah.
And that's where they get you. So you got to pay a fee. There's a withdrawal fee, early withdrawal fee on IRAs typically. And then you also have taxes that have to go into account. So now you probably cut your earnings maybe by 25% by the end of taxes.
It was very little by the time I got done with it.
Right, and it looks like a big amount until you gotta pull that money and, you know, utilize it. The IUL, it really is something that is beneficial for those who look to invest their money if you do it right. Some people, you know, you gotta actually allow your face value to increase over time. That's something that most people don't know. If you have it geared to increase, if you looking to get the biggest bang for your buck and you want to put in as much money as possible over time, that allows you to do it. So, for example, if you put $50,000 as your face amount, right? Granted, I know we worked on a case similar to that, you know, for your own children. Right, having that face amount, if it increased and say you want to go over that and you didn't expect to or you plan to, but you don't know when, allowing the premium or the premium amount, cash value, quote unquote, to increase over time would allow that face value to go up as well. So you wouldn't have to pay any additional. That being said, the tax kicks in there. So if you pay over 50,000, right, then you have to pay a tax on that difference, right? So that's what I kind of want to speak to, because if you want to build wealth, you want to make sure you have the right parameters.
Right. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of breaks down some of the most popular ones, right?
Right.
You know, the most common ones that we want to get to now.
And then there's different things that you can add to those, right? Like you were talking about, and those are called like riders, because they're basically like riding on the policy as you're going along. And you were talking about,
it's like a little sidecar. Like think about you riding a motorcycle, you can, you know, you add on extra rider and you can add on another, so you got like a little
right. And I think you were mentioning one of like return on premium is what you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
not every policy offers that, just preference that.
Which is one, in my opinion, especially if you have like a term life, you definitely want to look at that return on premium rider.
Because then it is a good investment, you know. You're protected and you get something in the end. It's not just one-sided.
Exactly.
You know?
Which is nice. And then there's another rider, and maybe you can help me out here, because he's the life specialist. It's with your kids. Basically, they get protection as well. Maybe.
I believe there's a child rider.
I think that's what I'm
additional
talking about.
child rider.
Yeah.
So what that does, that places an additional amount of money on, you know, the child in a beneficial way. So roughly you can go probably between 5,000 to like 25,000. And that's probably on the high end. A good quality insurance company, life insurance company will provide that. You know? But that being said, I mean, you can have a rider for, you know, to pay off debt, you know, for your child, or allow them to go to college. Right. There's stuff like that you can have as a rider. That allows them to get access to that amount of money immediately. So once you pass, like you can like, oh, I'll have a child rider. They get 5,000 to 25,000 immediately, right? Give it to them. Likely in an account depending on their age. They'll probably have to be a certain age. You can set up those parameters where they don't just get 25,000 to blow, right? I'm sure like with your siblings, you know, like that's like the biggest thing. And I worry about that too, because it's like I have a life insurance policy and my family, you know, they're the beneficiary, right? Typically, right? So I'm like, all right, I don't want this to be a situation where you win the lotto and then everybody just goes spitting crazy.
Goes crazy. Because I'm thinking of my 9-year-old, you know, if something, God forbid,
Yeah.
something happened to me before he
Yeah.
matures in the head a little bit, it would
He's
not
gonna try and
be
buy
well.
Roblox.
Exactly.
He wants to own Roblox.
He would try and own Roblox,
Yes.
essentially. Yeah, for sure.
So we're talking about like the importance of life insurance for business owners specifically today, and I don't know if we got into that in like our intro, but that being said,
I think so.
I mean, forget
Sorry.
things sometimes, right? I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie, it's off the cuff anyway, right?
Yeah,
We got a little script here, but
that's it.
right.
It's more like guidelines.
Right,
Guidelines.
it really is like, okay, like let's stay on track here.
Yeah.
And not talk about, you know, how we got our haircut last week.
Right.
You know, new wardrobe.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Okay.
And I hate reading it like from the paper because then it kind of throws me off.
Yeah, I
There's a
hate reading
camera
it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I get really monotone.
Yeah. I'm trying to like liven up my voice.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I always sound like this, but maybe I do.
I mean, it sounds good.
Right?
Right now. Yeah.
But listen, like, I feel like I should be Tom Joyner. Like,
I don't know who that is.
That's sad. The Tom Joyner bonus? We're gonna talk about that in the comments. Flame her, please. Somebody.
Flame me.
Yes,
Listen,
please.
don't be flaming me.
Yeah, you're right. For the sake of Mike. Mike Jones, do not flame her.
Please.
We want to have an inviting community.
Yeah.
But anyway, that being said, we're gonna discuss the crucial business owners protection that is very important. I think I can't stress this enough. If you have a vital business that supports your family, and I think Mike is a great example.
Yes, for
you
sure.
know, he has a number of businesses and more on the way. He influences the community as well as his loved ones at home.
Mm-hmm.
What is that if he, you know, ups and, you know, God forbid, passes away?
Right.
You know, how does that affect them?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, having that perimeter set up for you to be protected in the case of losing, you know, the business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we kind of want to talk about. So, you know, keeping your business running is the biggest part of this protection and this policy, right? A business owner's, you know, life insurance policy keeps that business going, and it pays the business debt, so it allows you to kind of stay above the water in times of crisis. You know, supplements cash flow, which is very important for a small business, right? Someone who may have the secret recipe, quote unquote, for an example. Mm-hmm. It kind of allows you to figure out what you can do in the meantime and how you can, you know, maybe keep things, like I mentioned, afloat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that can kind of be reversed too. The business owner can get a life insurance policy on like their key, what is it called? Key people.
Key people,
Yeah.
Key contributors.
Yeah.
I actually have that mentioned somewhere here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, I probably wouldn't have had spoke to it, but that being said, is like those key factors, and that is a good point too, because like those key players in your business, like, you know, your right hand, in this instance, right hand lady for Mike, you know, she does a lot here. Having a policy on her would be beneficial.
Right.
And it covers expenses, you know, when you need to replace things. And it's sad because someone has to die for this to be possible, but some businesses deal with a lot, and that added stress is something that it tries to alleviate. And then funds the partnership agreement, right? So it allows you to kind of, you know, if you have, say, a 50-50 split, and a partner dies, you can kind of use that money to pay out that other 50%. Purchase it from the family so that they don't have to worry about, okay, who's going to take it. Exactly.
That makes sense. That's pretty good to have.
And essentially it works to equalize the estate. You know, if the family owns the business, like I mentioned, they can use a life insurance to make everyone get an equal inheritance. So that 50% can be divvied up between family members, siblings, whatever it may be. So that's something to consider as well. Of course, protect your family. I mean, I think that goes without saying. And yeah, I mean, the highlights of the role of life insurance in the business succession plan is to ensure a smooth transaction of ownership. Overall, that's what it is, right? Because you're working towards moving one person out and the next person in successfully, and it's in the title. You want to have a successful transition because those things can get very, very muddy, very, very quickly.
Yes. Little backstory that hit my brain. Of course.
Right.
I always got stories. That's about all I contribute.
No, not at all. She's great.
One of my former employers, his mother passed away, and she didn't have any type of, She didn't have life insurance. She didn't have any legal documents like a will or anything. She had a composition notebook that was handwritten in pencil on kind of what she wanted
That's
done.
not even legible documents. You
it's
need to
not.
write in pen at least.
At least in
Still
pen.
need-
At least
Okay.
in pen.
But sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, so you were talking about things getting muddy. That got muddy very quickly because of that. I was still employed there. It had been like 12 years and they were still all in this huge legal battle over stuff. And if she had just kind of, here's an insurance policy, here's what I want done, then it would have been very simple, cut and dry. That wouldn't have lasted 12 years. So yeah, it's definitely important.
Okay, I mean, that right there is just a prime example. Because when you got family members 12 deep, not 12 deep, but 12 years into the process, I mean,
Right, yes.
that tells you there's something that just wasn't,
No.
something wasn't connected, and it just
No.
made it even that much harder.
Yes.
Especially after losing someone. I can't imagine what
Yeah.
the family was going through.
Trying to grieve and then fight that whole process
Right.
for 12 years.
Right. And run a business successfully. Because it's like, you gotta do that. 'Cause that's what kept you guys, you know, living, sustaining.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that centerpiece is everything.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of those things that tries to mitigate is that right there. And
Exactly.
it's one of those things that benefits a business owner,
Yes.
literally, or partners. That being said, I mean, there's also a tax advantage of life insurance policies for business owners. As a business owner, I think that's one of the things you try to
Right.
avoid is taxes, right? So let's be
Legally.
smart, right? Legally, absolutely.
Legally.
Come on now, get someone to do your books.
Yes.
We don't have a sponsor, but if we did,
It would be here.
right there, yeah, okay. But we'll just put, we'll put Jones
We'll tell Mike to open up a tax company.
Yes.
That's so funny.
So, you know, if you're a business owner, you know, life insurance policy has a cash value component. That being said, you can tap into those funds and fuel a tax-free business growth plan, right? So say you lose your business partner, and your goal is to try and recoup, you know, what you lost with his exit, or having to purchase that 50%. You gotta garner that wealth back so you can put into the company and allow it to grow. And if you do business good, you will allow that family to receive some type of percentage on that growth. Maybe not buy them completely out, but enough for where you own a majority, right?
Okay.
And that benefits everyone, right? So with it being tax free, go crazy. That's all I can say. Go crazy. Get this life policy.
Right. Call us.
Right. Call us. Number here, right there.
You'll put the number there?
Probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And then, you know, we have some case studies and kind of some key persons insurance we talked about earlier. So that was a great point. Key person.
Yes.
Literally. That's this is from the to the paper, copy and pasted.
Nice. But not
plagiarized.
Not plagiarized.
I would never.
No.
At least not on camera. That being said, key person insurance for small business case study. Present. So let me talk about it. So you told me about the family. Did they own Books A Million? Is that the?
No. So this was a different employer.
Okay.
This was at a hospital.
Hospital. Okay, so we won't disclose the name. But Books A Million shop there.
It's a good place. They got it.
Don't just read this. Read a book.
Yeah. They're good.
But I mean, tell me a little bit more about that. Let's dive into that.
So I'll talk about it.
But like,
Too much.
just don't say no names.
Right.
And don't mention the hospital.
Okay. So basically, my employer, he was the director of a very large department at the hospital. He had maybe like 13,000 employees just under him.
Right.
To kind of tell you where he stood. And I don't know a whole lot of details. I just know that, you know, his mother had passed away, and I don't know if it was like what all the assets were. I know her house was involved, but I know she didn't have like any, I don't believe she had any type of life insurance. And they were all kind of, him and his siblings were all kind of just doing what they could. And then, you know, sure, will and testament was a elementary school composition book that she had bought and just put it in pencil what she had wanted.
And anyone could have wrote that, by the way.
Anyone could have written that. And obviously there was no notary, there was no witness, there was none of that. It was just what she had supposedly written down in this book. And of course, you know, siblings argue, I'm sure. And I don't know who instigated what, but I just know that they were not in agreement with what was in the. They were not in the same page
at all.
I don't even think they were in the composition book with her.
Yeah. And like,
so
just to get to that point as a family, you could tell like death in the family is very hard.
Oh yes.
And it's not just about the emotions; it's about the actions that people put behind those emotions. And some people, they grieve differently, right?
They do.
I say grieve, but they grieve. They grieve differently. And
Some of them grieved too.
Yeah, they listen. That might have been full circle because they're greed. Like greed is getting in the way of those emotions and trying to be good.
My family, like my grandfather, he passed away in 2022. So wait, was it 2021?
It's okay. That's what
it's emotional, and it's been a roller coaster for the past like 3.5 years.
Strong.
Anyway, he passed away, and I mean, he did do everything right. He had his life insurance policy, which made it super easy, by the way. We didn't have to create a GoFundMe to put him in the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were able to do that process so smoothly without having to try and figure out where am I going to get this money to afford the casket, So that's why I would always advocate for life insurance, because of just the ease that it puts on your family during such a hard time and such a hard process, without having to add the extra steps of how am I going to afford this,
Yeah, that's the biggest question.
But yeah, he had everything. He had all the ducks in a row. He had a legal will and testament from a lawyer. He had his life insurance policy, and there was still issues within my family because, like you said, people grieve differently. They grieve differently too, and it was just what should have been a very smooth process was made very bumpy because of other people in the family.
Life
So,
insurance.
yes.
And don't just get a life insurance policy.
No.
Get an estate planned, a will, if you will.
Yes.
But that being said, I think that's a great story. I have one similar. It's not my story, but someone kind of related to me, and it kind of has the same plot and whatnot. There's family members who saw opportunity, and they had greed, and it wasn't grieving. They just wanted what that person had or potentially had. And then you see money go missing, cash. We're talking cash in the house, over 10,000, jewelry.
That's insane.
China, whatever it may be that was of value. Things start to slowly disappear from this person's home. The family had no idea what was going on.
Right.
And I don't believe there was a will. There was, but what they chopped it up was the children, because it was a sister.
Okay.
And the brother of the sister was who I knew, who I was familiar with. He didn't receive anything.
Okay.
Even though he was someone who cared for, and
which is why a will is always important, because so say you don't have a will and testament, your house or your asset or whatever, at least in South Carolina, goes into probate for at least a year.
Okay.
And then, so probate is basically the state kind of holds on to it.
Okay. So it's like
so you can't sell it. You can't do anything. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't do anything to it. You can't touch it for at least a year. And then, from my understanding, unless I don't know, from my understanding, after that year, then state sells it off, and they split that between the children that are surviving.
Okay.
So say your children are estranged, like you don't talk to them or anything, and the person who is like with you and cared for you and stuff was either your brother or your nephew or niece or somebody like that. You want that will and testament, that way you know that they are taken care of after you have passed. So.
All right. No, I think that's like a great step, something that a lot of states implement, right? Especially if you have like a high elderly population. I think that'd be great. And I mean, that was a prime example. I think the home was still being taken care of after she passed, but there was a process of like, all right, are we going to sell it? Who's keeping it? And I think someone decided to sell, and they had the right to, so they hold all benefits and I guess what is it called, gains capital. So I mean, you got to kind of roll the punches at that point. There's no will, there's no designation for any process. So you kind of get caught in the hayfire or the crossfire, excuse me.
Pretty much.
I mean, that brings us to the importance of adequate coverage and knowing exactly what that really means for your family, for those times once you pass, like how much is going to cover your burial and your estate planning and that transition. And speaking to it, insurance to protect certain businesses. That is very important as well as a business owner and individuals. Insurance will protect those profits. Some examples are offsetting, like I mentioned earlier, lost income from loss of sales or losses resulting from delay or cancellation of any business projects involving a key person. And that's where that key person coverage comes in. As a business owner, losing, someone like a Beth can set you back for a few weeks, a few months, until you find somebody who is licensed, who has the credentials and can handle the workload. You know what I mean? So losing someone like that at a crucial moment, and if it's like, I don't even know, what's the high season for insurance? Tax season. Tax season for insurance is like, oh my gosh, I'm saying you lose someone at that time, it's like, how do you even, and if you're a business owner who owns multiple businesses and has a career, like a Mike, right? It's hard for you to step away and just be like, I'm gonna do this one job until you feel it.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
You need to be able to put your money where your mouth is, or subsidize that loss. So that's what that kind of implements there. I mean, and then we're talking about insurance that's designed to protect the shareholders or the partnership, like I mentioned. If you're someone 50 or 25 times X amount of people, break that down, you have a lot of people with, curious minds. Where do we go from here? Right? And when you have that will, you have that trust, or if it's just an estate planning or just a policy, it sets some type of foundation going forward, which is important, especially in business, because it's a lot of hearts that are broken and lives that may be lost purposely to make sure that they understand where the line is set. I don't know, I might just watch too many movies.
Maybe.
It might not be real in real life. I don't know though. Wall Street is dangerous though, I would imagine.
Wall Street is dangerous, probably, I don't know.
So, this, and then speaking to the last point here, for anyone involved in, guaranteeing business loans or banking facilities, the value of insurance coverage is arranged to equal the value of the guarantee. So, like I spoke to earlier, paying off your debt is something that you want to factor in when you're talking about the adequate coverage amount, right? So we're talking about 50,000 versus 100, 150, 250, millions of dollars worth of coverage, depending on your business size or an individual, right? You gotta know what your family needs. Typically, and I wanna speak to this, this is important. Typically, you wanna do 5 to 10 years of your living wage, right? And then you do the math on that per year, break it down, divide it, whatever you feel is comfortable. Then you'll figure out what your family really needs, or your business really needs, business partners really need to sustain in your absence, right? Then you could go to an estate planner and so on, develop a trust for your family. All of those things are important. But knowing how much you really want to leave your family, friends, business partners is the first step, right? So yeah, I mean, purchasing key person's insurance, that is 8 to 10 times the key person's salary, most times than not, right? And it's recommended monetary value of the key person. So I mentioned losing Beth, you want to know what exactly you're in for, how much you have to supplement for, or pay someone if they do decide to hire in that time of absence. I guess you want to find the right person and make sure they're paid adequately. So those things all come into factor when figuring out the right amount. I mean, I don't have any stories, but I just can tell when, like back home, there were local businesses, when they lose, like if my grandma has a business, if she passed away, no one would be stepping in to take over or help keep it going. And I know she has plans to expand it out. So it's like, all right, how do we go about managing, because she's getting up there in age, but she's still, that being said, who's gonna manage, who's gonna make those moves to keep things going? And that's something I consider, and I see businesses do it all the time. There's food places back home, the family is, held together by the grandpa who had a recipe and he started the place, but he passes away, and no one can step up. Or like your friends at the hospital, they had to go 12 years before, something was solved. So it's a horrible dilemma.
I think of when you're talking about the secret recipe,
secret
formula. I think about this restaurant that I used to go to when I worked at the hospital. It's this Greek restaurant, and
Okay.
they have some bomb food. Okay, it's delicious.
Nah, you
Right?
can't. No, this is going to expose the hospital.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in the hospital?
It's not in the hospital, but it's near it.
Yeah, no.
No. Anyway, a good Greek restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it was like one of the children that owned it, but their mom worked there.
Right.
Because she's the one that had all the recipes.
She was in the kitchen.
She was in the kitchen.
She knew what to
You
do.
know, and she, I'll never forget, she would make baklava. It was the best baklava ever. Nobody can beat her baklava. But she broke her arm. She couldn't make it.
Ooh.
And guess what? They couldn't make baklava that whole time her arm was broken. She was trying to quickly teach one of her grandchildren how to make it. It wasn't the same. But I think about, you know, what if something were to happen to her before somebody else learned, you know, that recipe? They definitely lose out on a lot of business. Because I tell you, that baklava was awesome.
That's the thing. Ancestors, man, get around them, learn what they know, any skills, especially their business owner, right? Because there's something they're doing that is unique. That was unique. Like, like you need somebody who can like step in and, you know, make that same or at least close to it. You don't want to have that fall off. That's what happens. Like there's a well-known pizza spot. I just remember well-known pizza spot always burns down. It's called Avenues, and this isn't bad publicity because everyone knows it.
Okay.
And they'll probably never watch this. But that being said, it's called Avenues Pizza. Some of the best pizza in Buffalo. It was.
Okay.
Sorry, I got hairs. I'm like, what? Yo, but
It's that spider.
yeah, like
Yeah.
where it just disappeared.
That's funny.
This place burned down probably 3 times in my life.
Wow.
And I think the same family owns it or has owned it, and they pass it down. And then I think one year, like around COVID, the owner died. So then you start to see the sauce change. You know, it's not cooked the same. It was still good. It just you start to notice those differences in prep, right? That being said, I mean they've burnt down 3 times. They rebuilt every time, same place, never left. And it's just because I'm sure they have business insurance, right? It covers their property, equipment, and then they probably, I would imagine, had life insurance on the key people, but who knows? Because they probably don't, right? Because those things, that's like extra. That's an extra mile. Like, how do you protect the key people, the business owners, the high, you know, partnership, I guess, affiliates and contributors, key persons to, you know, simplify that. But I think they did pretty good though. So.
Okay.
I mean, and then I guess we're getting into like economic uncertainty, financial planning, which is a big part of what, you know, life insurance can offer you. And excuse me, so like the ongoing economic challenges and market volatility may influence life insurance decisions for individuals and businesses. So explore the financial planning strategies. I don't think we have any today, but we may in the future. So stay tuned, please. Like, follow, share, and whatever this is right here. This is like a running joke. I don't know if you know that, but
gotta hit the, what is it? My son says it all the time. The notification bell. Hit the little notification bell.
Hit the notification
bell.
Ring
that bell.
Yeah. Smash the like.
Smash.
But it's important. We'll get back to that. Those strategies are important. And like I mentioned, knowing what you need is the first part. How much you need, and then we'll get to people with financial plans are 78% more likely to pay their bills and save every month compared to those without a plan, right? Listen, and the crazy thing is, I'm like, why do I need a plan? Like, I know what I'm doing, I know what my day looks like, but it's like, maybe you know a little bit better if you have like, okay, this time will be here, that time I'm there. You can plan a lunch, plan your dinner.
Right.
All of those things come into a factor.
Look at a random photo one day and be like, I need to go get all of that stuff.
But it was good though.
It was a good dinner.
Amazing, right? Stuffed pepper. It reminded me of chicken wing dip. That's what it reminded me of.
Yes, that's what it reminds me. I eat it with Tostito chips.
Really?
Yeah, I'll get extra sauce and mix it all up and just eat it with the chips.
They got like it's real fancy. It's like the little bread with the crackers.
Yeah.
The bread and cheese that they serve at like the supermarkets, like.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's like buttered up and everything.
Yeah.
Some people do that with it. Or they have like the soft Italian bread diced up. That's like super elegant.
I'll have to go buy all that stuff to make it again.
Doritos.
Doritos?
With the
Would it be too much cheese though?
I mean, at that point, you're already
That's
in
fair.
cheese.
It's a lot of cheese. Yeah.
But no, that's what it reminded me of. It was real good.
That's fair. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. That being said, plan your meals so you're not like, going to get lunch, but actually buying dinner.
And then getting some expensive lunch that isn't even good.
Right. Just so you can balance out the time that you have left.
Right.
Dang, why you?
Sorry.
What'd you get? Now I want to know.
Sad sandwich that I told you about.
Oh.
It was dry.
Yeah.
It was sad.
It's still in the fridge.
It's still in the fridge. Probably need to throw it away.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
It's probably gonna start.
I was wondering why you was getting like a little whiff of.
It's probably gonna be like a science experiment soon if I don't throw it away.
Black mold.
Yeah.
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 I know Tony Stark, so
I'm sorry.
I don't want to dive into the sciences of black mold because he's a scientist. Well, he's not a scientist. He's a playboy. Tony.
I
don't even know if it's recording, but
you don't know if it's recording.
Should I see?
You please.
I'm still gonna put it. Tony Hawk.
Yeah. This is not.
It's not a scientist. Tony Stark is a fictitious scientist.
Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. It's alright. Marvel fell off anyway. So the next point, I guess I am give you some strategies here. Plan out your expenses, your day. It allows you to kind of get a better understanding of what you kind of have on your books, right? It's kind of like bookkeeping in a sense.
Yeah.
And then people with financial plans are 68% more likely to have an emergency fund than people without a plan. So, planning ahead allows you to be prepared for those unforeseen accidents or emergencies and all those things that come with being an adult, which they don't teach you in school.
They don't.
We need to have an episode on that.
You probably should, for real.
We need to talk about why that is not a thing. You need to know financial literacy.
Yes.
We still don't know financial literacy.
No.
But we will.
We're trying.
Tune in.
We're trying.
Because we'll have that episode soon. And then to continue on, those with financial plans are 74% more likely to automate a portion of their income into savings. I don't know if you do that at all. Do you know anyone?
My husband does.
Yeah, okay.
I don't. I'm probably the big spender in the family. The
Typical.
what is it called? The spontaneous shopper?
Yes.
That's me. I try to build a savings plan and then I'm like, I need that for something I saw and I pull out of it.
That's
which
tough.
is not good.
It's not good.
No.
And I don't encourage that.
No,
don't
I don't
follow
encourage,
that plan.
Yeah, don't listen to me.
That's where you want to move away from. You want to make sure you're taking steps. So what steps do you take to get out of that mindset or those actions? What do you do? Anything?
When I find the secret formula, I will let you know.
Okay, so she's still working on it.
I'm still working on it.
But you at home, you guys at home, you ladies, you young gents and young ladies coming up in the world, please take note, okay? Learn to manage,
do what I do.
learn to save, because as you can see today, we need to save a lot more than we did 2 years ago.
Very true.
Right? So plan that out. Know what you want to save, take it immediately out your account so you never know it's missing.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that for the last 10 years of my life. Never did it. I don't do it, but I save. I take some money out every week. Not automated, but I'm me, so whatever. I don't know.
You're kind of like a little robot when it comes to stuff like that.
I'm a little robot.
I would guess so.
Break that down.
I heard you over here going like, okay, it's this time. I have this much time left before we close. And I could see it in your head that you were like creating a schedule in your head. I was just like, don't call that bitch. How
When was
is
this,
that?
Friday?
This was today. You did it today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I got 1 million people to call.
That's fair.
And I was trying to put everything into.
You could just see the little robot in your head, moving its little things around.
She won't say it, but it was starting to smoke. She thought it was a
might have
sandwich.
Might have been that
Combusted.
sandwich.
She thought it combusted in there.
I'll throw away the sandwich.
Yeah, it's okay. She says it all shamefully.
Because it's bad. It's been there a minute.
It's been there a minute. Okay, so last point we'll leave you with. And of course, if you have questions, any concerns, please give us some comments below. Talk to us. Let us know what you do to save, right? So we can learn. She needs some pointers. I need some pointers that, take this to the next level. Because we on this, come on. All right, we ain't even got to talk about it because we here with it. All right. Financial planners exhibit better investing habits. And we talked about that earlier. Being an investor with IULs, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
A great tool. And for me, I use that as a savings too. I don't know if anyone does, but I do.
Okay.
So I put money in that every month. Obviously, I pay my premium, but it turns into cash value. I can borrow against my face value as well as my cash. Like, there's so many avenues. If I decided to, like, one day, I don't know, globetrot, I can do that. It's like
where you just go travel.
Yeah, travel the world.
Okay.
I think. I hope. Or
that's what you're using.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Tom Hanks and what was the movie that he did? Can't even think of it.
Castaway?
No, where he was running around.
You're talking about Forrest Gump?
Yeah, that one.
He just went and ran around the country.
I did the little hand motion.
You did.
That's
funny.
He went globetrotting, like.
Yeah.
But he had good investments. So.
He had the shrimp company.
Apple, Nike. He invested in all of that,
That's
quote
weird.
unquote. This is like this was the perfect story. He lived it. Like, he went from being. I'm not gonna get into it because I feel like that might be a little controversial. That being said, great story. He invested. IULs, great tool to invest with. Why? Well,
just
why are you laughing at Forrest Gump?
I'm
and
not.
his inabilities and how he overcame.
That is definitely not what I was laughing at. Okay. I was laughing at you.
I'm projecting.
You are projecting a lot. I don't appreciate it. Anyway, I was laughing because I could just hear you be like, Forrest Gump had a UIL. It's just, that's your whole
IUL.
IUL.
Yes. Index Universal Life Insurance.
That's your whole argument on why they should get it. That's what
no,
I was
you
laughing
should,
at.
because I'm sure he had a life insurance policy.
That's what I
He
was.
was a millionaire. Yeah,
that's true.
No, but that's true. I did think about it, but I'm like, nah. If he was a real person, I probably would have said that.
That's fair.
He probably did have IUL because he. I'm sorry. I don't know, because he had a good financial advisor.
Who was his financial advisor?
I don't know. God.
Yeah.
His mom.
Maybe,
the box of chocolates.
The box of chocolates.
The man on the
He would
bench.
open one up, and each one had its like little financial tip for the day.
No, it was Jenny.
It was not Jenny.
No, Jenny was globe trotting. She was globe trotting.
Yeah. It was bad.
Sorry, little Forrest. Little Gump. Okay. The last one.
We're still
Exhibit better financial habits. That's what you want to do, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't save, invest, because you allow your dollar to grow versus to sit idle, right? Most savings accounts sit idle. They don't grow at a large rate, whereas an investment account allows you to grow 2 to 3% versus the one that you get in a normal savings. Besides the point, let's get to this fact. The survey shows.
Go down that rabbit hole or not.
Oh, this?
No,
oh no, I wasn't gonna.
Yeah, okay.
No, I had to leave it alone.
That's fair.
This is a mass.
Yeah.
Publication here. The survey shows 85% of planners who invest regularly rebalance their portfolios, and 75% consider risk tolerance when investing. Absolutely. And I just want to add savings.
Right.
Investing is the best thing you can do for your family.
Yes.
Strategically. Like, don't just willy-nilly, I heard this on the 4chan and I'm going to go invest in AMC. We want you to invest smartly. We're not financial advisors at all.
No.
But we do write life insurance, which at least me, I consider that to be a financial service. And it can set your family up for financial wealth, as well as an estate, a trust. And all of those things go full circle to create a healthy family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you doing this with me for sure, because I definitely.
Never again.
That is not true.
Never.
He'll be here every episode.
I've been here every episode.
He'll be in front of the camera every episode. Yes. So today's sponsor is Freedom First Outfitters of Camden, South Carolina. Definitely check them out.
Yes. What do they say? It's two-way safe haven.
Yes. Thanks for watching this week as we talk about different life insurance policies and what they mean. Tune in next week. We'll probably be talking about annuities and that whole shebang. I definitely appreciate you today, Thomas,
Absolutely.
for
Thank you
sitting
for having
here.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, couldn't say no to Jones Facts. Like, this
No.
is the podcast,
Right.
Where we
Yeah.
talk about unity, family, and how to ensure those things, right? You
Right.
want to make sure that they're protected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think life insurance allows you to invest as well as save and protect them. It's a full 360 opportunity. So I
Yes.
just thought we should talk about it this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was great. We're definitely going to have Thomas on some more episodes because, yes. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.